Hey Rebels, welcome back to my channel. You guys are watching RWS, which is Randoms with Shades, and I'm Moa. I'm Shades the Rebel. I'm excited for today's video because in today's video we're going to be making the pattern for our skirts that I showed you guys yesterday. We are inspired by the Jaquemus Dress, and I'm so excited because you know what? I'm always excited. So in today's video we're going to be making the pattern. I'm going to start by showing you how to measure yourself. So how to measure yourself, you're going to place your measuring tape on your waist. Your waist is your smallest part of your body, and place it on your waist. I like to just let my tape fall just nicely like that to the side, and all I do is just push it until it's like straight, because then I know where my measurement is going to be. And then holding it there, I just hold it, and I now figure out where I would like my skirt to be, which is roughly around here, and that is 102 centimeters. So I am a tall girl, so 102 centimeters is pretty much decent for me. So obviously you'd have to measure yourself and just guess how much you're gonna need in terms of length. So that's very important, and I showed you guys how I do it, and I hope it works out for you. So to the pattern making. So guys, we need our pattern blocks, the front and the back. We need our rulers as well as a pen to help us trace and just fill in everything. So the first thing we're going to do is starting with the front skirt. We're tracing out everything and marking all the points that are necessary for us to be able to do this pattern. It's going to be fun, guys. I hope you guys are doing this as I am doing it. You can obviously change or slow down the speed to your desired preference. And now remember that from our hip line to the bottom of the skirt, when we created the block, it was 60 centimeters in length, and our new measurement for the length of the skirt has to be 102 from our waistline. So what you're going to do is add the difference at the bottom. So that would be 60 plus your waist to hip measurement, which is 22.2 centimeters, and then minus that amount from 102, and that is the difference you get, and then that's going to be your new length. And as you can see, I've written down that it is our new hemline. So now I'm measuring from the waist to this point, which is 50 centimeters. Obviously this is not in proportion, guys. This is just for demonstration purposes. And from that line above, I measured 10 centimeters and created a diagonal line, and that is where I was going to make my curved line. All of this was unnecessary, obviously, but for my sanity, I do it like this, and you don't have to do it like this. So now you shape out your curve. You can do this freehand, really. I just had to be extra and use the rulers, and obviously if you prefer using the rulers, then I suggest you do that too. And that is going to be the line where we cut our skirt. And now we're adding 4 centimeters to the new hemline on the outside and joining it to that 60 centimeter point to make it an A line. And now we're adding these two lines in the middle to give us the desired length for our skirt bottom to be able to create our frill. And I've measured the curve, which was 35 centimeters, and multiply that by 3, sorry, and that's the measurement we're going to elongate our bottom part of the skirt by. And we're going to cut everything on fold. I'm going to show you guys when I do this what I mean when I say cut on fold. So the other extra measurements, obviously, guys, I do this for my sanity, but it really doesn't matter. So what you want to do is make sure that you flare the skirt to that amount that we got, which was the 35 times 3, and 35 times 3 is obviously 19 plus 15, which is equals to 15, 10, 105. So we're going to spread our bottom part of the skirt to 105. So now I'm sticking this top part of my skirt to the paper, the white paper that I folded. I'm using a white paper so that you guys can see the seam allowance and see exactly what I'm doing. So I've placed the center front of the skirt directly on the fold so that we can have it symmetrical with the other side of the skirt. So this is only the left side, and basically when you do this, you're going to get the other side, which is the right side. And also we're cutting it on fold because our skirt does not have a seam in front, so it's nice, and it's a nice smooth clean fabric piece, so you don't need a seam there and no seam allowance. So we cut it on fold, and this is how it looks. After doing that, we're going to write down all the necessary information. This is what I've decided to call the dramatic frill skirt. We're going to cut two pieces of this, which is going to be the fabric on the outside as well as the fabric on the inside, which is our lining. Make sure that you put in your notches for your dots, sorry, so that you know where your dots have to go on the fabric, and then just mirror it on the other side of the skirt. So we're done with that, and now we're doing the frill part. Couldn't fit this on the A4 sheet, so now I'm doing it on the other part of the paper. Another piece of paper. So I start by drawing a perpendicular line on top so that I can align the skirt, and the line is perpendicular to the fold. And the same thing here, we're cutting on fold, and I'm just going to be spreading the pieces by the amount that we have to. So remember I said we're going to be making this part of the skirt 105 centimeters wide. So I've just calculated how much I need to spread it by in order to make it 105. And in all honesty, you don't even have to spread it to a specific number. You can just spread it to whatever number. The more fabric you have, the more gathers you have, and the less fabric you have, the less gathers you will have. So yeah, I hope you guys understand that. And so now I'm measuring that curve, and basically you're going to fill in the zigzag line or the swirly line and write down that you're going to gather to 35 centimeters, which is the measurement of that curve. And then fill in the information: dramatic frill, cut times 1. Remember that this is the part that we're going to make into a frill. It does not have lining. Now we're going to the back, and the back is pretty much done in the same process. The only difference is that at the back we have 2 dots, and so how do we make it into 1 dot? So I'm going to show you guys how to do that, as well as the back's curve for the frill is a convex curve instead of a concave curve like the one in front. So I'm also going to show you that because that too was different. So now we've traced out our pattern, and we're going to do the same thing that we did in front. We have to elongate the length. We have to also change the curve and everything else. So basically you do the same thing. Make sure that you do the same thing you did in front, and just make sure that you do it also according to the technical drawing. So those same points that I marked in the beginning, I'm doing the same thing here. Here are the lines. And that 10 centimeter, instead of going 10 centimeter upwards, I went 10 centimeter below. And this is for me to be able to create the curve at the bottom. And as you can see, guys, I drew it with the curve ruler. I'm going to change it up because you have to draw the curve to your desired, curve way. Yeah, some curves just look too fake, if you get what I'm saying. So you try and make the curve look as natural as possible. So yeah. So that curve line is where we're going to cut. But this pattern is done differently from the front totally, in terms of our curve is overlapping on the area that we're going to use for our frill. So yeah, so what I'm doing here at the top for the dot, I made sure that I'm going to make the new dot the same length as the longest dot, as you can see. And how to do that, you make sure that the point has a perpendicular line to the center front, or it's also parallel to the hip line or the hemline, and then find the center and then add the two um, measurements of the dots, which was 2 centimeters on each side, and you add it like that. That's how you do it. So now we're measuring our curve, and our curve here is 38 centimeters. And we're going to multiply 38 by 3 to be able to get how wide our frills fabric is supposed to be at the bottom. And we get the number 114, and so we're going to spread your bottom part of your skirt up to 114. So now we're going to divide that by 2 so that we can be able to spread it, since that bottom part is going to be cut on fold. And then we're going to add that 4 centimeter at the end, and then draw in that A-line type of shape. This is just going to give some character to our skirt. So now the next thing that I'm doing is oiling out the top part of our skirt. Like I said, that this one is done differently, and we're oiling it out because the curve and the frill part of the skirt at the back are overlapping, so we can't cut like we did in the beginning. This is definitely how you're supposed to do, and what we have done here is basically we have done a style analysis and a master pattern. So the style analysis is the part that we are oiling out from, and all we do is join the dotted line from the oiling. So basically what an oil does is punch holes through the pieces of paper, and then when you turn it out you just join the dots, and that's exactly what I did here. And now I'm adding my seam allowance. I also added seam allowance in front, because on the center back, because we have a back seam, and now we have one dot there at the back. And what we're going to do is fold our dot and join the dot legs together in order to cut the shape at the top there, because sometimes if you cut it too straight, the dot's fabric and the inside does not attach to the seam when you add the waistband. So now I'm adding my grain line, which is parallel to the center front, and then I am writing in all the information necessary. And we're going to cut 4 pieces at the back, because we have 2 of the outer fabric and 2 of the inner fabric, which is the lining. And now I'm oiling out the bottom part of our skirt the same way we did with the top part of our skirt. So like I said, that this paper that you guys are looking at right now, this is now our style analysis. So we've pretty much drawn our basic block and added all the style lines, and all we do to make our master pattern, which is the pattern that has the seam allowance, is we just oil it out and then add seam allowance, but the style analysis remains. Now we're cutting out the bottom part of our skirt, because we have to spread it out so that we can get enough fabric for the frill. So we're going to cut all those pieces, and I've never numbered them 1, 2, 3. It's important to number them 1, 2, 3. And on this paper I didn't fold it. What I did instead is just drew a square line. I squared out those 2 lines, because spreading the back part of the skirt was actually a lot wider, so we needed more paper, hence I didn't fold it. Now that we stuck everything, we're going to just join those lines and add our seam allowance, which is 1 centimeter all around. And remember, since that this is a cut on fold, I did fold this piece of paper and added some glue and added another piece of paper in order for us to be able to get our nicely folded skirt bottom. And then just cut it out and we are good to go. Make sure that everything is symmetrical, because the slightest difference on your pattern paper makes a huge difference sometimes. It could contribute to making the garment that you're making fits illy or poorly, so you need to make sure of everything. So now we're drawing that squiggly line again and gather to 38 centimeters, which is the measurement of the curve. So I did make a waistband for the skirts. I didn't show you guys how to do it. And the reason for this is because I actually didn't use the waistband when I made the skirt, but I will explain all of this in the special notes video. So this is how the patterns look like. So the front, the back, the waistband, as well as the frills for the bottom and the front. And what you do now is just make sure that everything's going to match up together and add notches so that you know how to join them. And I'll give you guys a close up. As you can see there, my pattern there was overlapping, and so now I'm just cutting it so that it does fit with the front. So this is the back part of the skirt, and it didn't really fit well with the front of the skirt. This is the frill part. So you need to make sure that everything matches up and everything is well made. Before you start cutting on the fabric and make mistakes on the fabric, you make sure that your patterns are okay. And so now I'm matching up the seams, the side seams of this top part of the skirt, and they matched up correctly, even the hip line. So I'm using the hip line as my notch, which is going to help me join the skirt. And then next, what I do is make sure that my dots are facing the right direction, and that at the top there at the seam they are aligning. If there's any like overlapping or anything, that means something went wrong. So everything looks or seems to be going well here. And then I added my zip notch. So yeah guys, that's done.